Hello, everybody. This is Derek, and with me today is the only man who still uses leaves as a bib on the trail, Carl Mandrioli. He still needs a bib, guys.
Still do. Welcome to the Backpacking Butchers podcast, brought to you by the undisputed champion of ultralight quilts and lighting equipment. Lighten your load at enlightenedequipment.com. With me today is a man who struggles with conversation, so he talks about global warming because it's a real icebreaker.
I kind of like that one. Thank
you. Thank you. Yeah,
that's decent.
All right. We have the most recent National Parks Director, Chuck SAMS, on our show today.
Chuck SAMS. This is the big guy, the top dog, or who used to be the top dog.
I mean, he just ended his
reign
in January, and there's no current National Parks Director, but he's
what?
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West out there. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of the Wild West. I'm gonna throw my name in the hat here and kind of tell him like what my platform would be if I was the next National Parks Director.
I'm gonna make sure we mention that you worked at REI.
Okay.
And you make decently average trivia questions. I think that would be.
You're not gonna say that at all.
I think we should bring that up.
Okay.
That's a good factor to bring up.
All right. So I'm gonna tell him what I think and then ask basically how to become the next National Parks Director.
Okay.
But that's just tip of the iceberg. We got all sorts of stuff. We're gonna basically ask everything that you expect us to ask. At anything from Bigfoot to Ranger Annie. Like it's all on the table here, folks.
Yeah, it's all on the table. Footnote, I actually had to miss the first half of this interview. I had a personal issue come up right at the beginning of recording, of course. Yep. That's how life is. But I did jump in halfway through. And Carl obviously would start to mock me, so you guys will catch all that. Enjoy the interview.
Yeah. So, and when he says personal issue, I know some of you are like, well, what was the personal issue? And I will tell you, it was called irresponsibility. So that's what happened.
Wow, harsh. How do you grade your own life this harsh? Because you would fail everything. By the way, I don't know if I like the lighting at your place right now. Are you in a different room? Where's your rock background or your wood background? Not rock. your wood.
I know it's just
your shiplap background.
For those that are on YouTube, this is horrendous lighting. I apologize. I really wanted to interview Chuck SAMS, but when he signed up, I was not going to be in town, and so I'm actually in Central California right now, and we're on.
You know what that's called? You know what that's called? Irresponsibility.
Wait, the fact that I brought all my podcast gear with me on a trip.
It's irresponsible of you to sit in a room with that lighting and a 1965 some kind of Western photo in the background. What is that? What am I looking at?
Where would you go? What would you do?
There's a lot of glare because of that frame behind you.
What's your solution?
Maybe just turn 90 degrees and get away from that photo.
There's like a mirror behind in 190 degrees. Then there's like. I don't know. This is
maybe you should have splurged. Maybe you should have splurged for the bigger room. Okay, with better lighting.
This is the boardroom they have in the hotel.
even worse.
Okay, splurge. Yeah. All right. Anyway, nobody cares. Bible verse, Psalm 24:1. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. Derek, what's the biggest threat to the earth?
Oh, your joke. Either your jokes or
my jokes are threats to the earth's land.
The land, threats to the earth's land. People are the biggest threat to the earth's land. I'm gonna say it.
Very deep.
Say it. Are they not? I mean, do we not destroy everything that we touch?
I recycle. I don't know about you.
Well, I don't know how great your recycling centers are out there. Are they good?
Not very good. You're right.
Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, we have Chuck SAMS, the 19th National Parks Director, coming up right now. With us today is a man who served as the 19th National Park Director. He's worked for 30 years in tribal and state government, and he is a U.S. Navy veteran. Mr. Chuck SAMS, how's it going today, sir?
It's going great, Carl. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, seriously, it's an honor to have you on the show. We so appreciate it. So thank you for taking the time. And thank you, so much for your service with everything that you've done. And so most recently, you were the National Parks Director, and of all of the responsibilities a National Parks Director has, what is the most challenging, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. The most challenging is ensuring that your staff and the parks have enough resources to do the job that they are charged to do under the 1916 Organic Act. We have today 433 national parks, but we have over $100 billion in assets in those national parks. Everything from roads to visitor centers to trails and to the staffing. itself. And so, making sure that Congress appropriates enough dollars to support those operations is probably the single largest challenge any director faces.
So what does that look like? Is there some sort of, like online meeting or roundtable where you have all the superintendents of the parks and they're kind of like, all right, this is how much we would like, and this is what we're intending to use the funding for this year. And then you've got to negotiate, well, we'll give you this much for this park, this much for this park, or how do you decide? I mean, that seems like a pretty big job there. How do you decide how much each park gets or how much you're going to ask for?
There is a formula to it overall, but we look at each park, and each superintendent has to determine what their actual needs are based on what that park was set up to do under legislation.
Okay.
The National Park Service doesn't create national parks. Congress creates the parks, and each park is unique, and each park is overseen by a superintendent, and it's a decentralized system, which is rightly so. And therefore, they know what's best needed in their parks that are on the ground, and they make those submissions up through the region. The region collects those and analyzes, makes determinations about, what are they using their resources for, and then submits those up to headquarters. And they get to headquarters in Washington, D.C., and then we have to look over their entire budget system and talk about allocations. And, how does that going to look as we get in and then make our proposals going forward?
Okay. And so I guess I'm wondering, like, how nitty gritty do you get with that? Because so just from a national park user perspective, so I go to one national park and I have 0% chance of seeing a ranger out on the trail. I go to Glacier National Park and I feel like they're watching me. Like every corner we turn, there's a ranger and they're like, hey, let me see your permit. Hey, do you know about bears? How, like, what's your precautions for this and that? And I'm like, okay, like we're just trying to get to our campsite here and we can't avoid, like I've been there a couple of times. I can't avoid the rangers. And so obviously they have more of a budget devoted to backcountry rangers, whereas other parks, like I'm never going to see them. So do they get that specific with you?
They can. I mean, they'll make their arguments. So, yes, there might be an issue where we've seen an uptick in natural resource damages done by the public in a certain park, and therefore they may be requesting additional support and staff for back ranger country and for repair and maintenance and upkeep, and compared to another park that they may not see nearly as much, and instead they're looking for more administrative support because they have a backlog of maybe permitting for backcountry use. So, they vary. That's why we have to listen to what superintendents are telling us.
Right.
And making sure we meet those demands.
Okay. You're an expert on the national parks. You probably know so many things about them that we don't know. And we know which ones we've been to and which ones we like and which ones are popular and kind of on our list. But in your opinion, is there a national park that you feel like doesn't get its just due? It's kind of underrated?
There are a lot of hidden gems. While I was the National Park Service director, I got to visit over 130 parks.
Okay.
I made sure that I was hitting about 3 national parks a month because I wanted to get out in the field and visit with the staff and see what was really happening on the ground.
Right.
Be able to connect and talk with everybody in the field maintenance, backcountry rangers, interpretation, cultural resources staff, the administrative staff, just to hear what their concerns were and what we should be doing better in Washington, D.C. to support the work that they were doing. But I've been to everything from like Fort Necessity in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Which is actually the only battle that General Washington, the President Washington, lost during the French Indian Wars. I think that is an underrated park that folks would pass by and you wouldn't know about, but It's an important part of the American history, and the staff there tell the story very openly and truthfully about what happened to General Washington and his British troops during the French Indian Wars. Another one that I think that folks don't pay enough attention to is the story at Fort Pulaski in Georgia, just right outside of Savannah as you're heading to Tybee Island. It is also one of my favorite parks, not because it was a Confederate fort, and of course the Union eventually destroyed the fort and were able to take it, but the story of how the fort was built, because it was built not only by slave labor, but by child slave labor.
Oh, wow.
We know that not only from the oral and the written history, but the fingerprints are still marked in the brick in the armory. And the rangers will take you in there with a flashlight and show you. And I brought my own children there because I wanted them to see what that must have been like, and to think for themselves when they were 8, 9, 10 and were in forced labor, what that would have been like for them. So that we know that we don't ever want to return to that type of history again as Americans.
Yeah. So not always the proud history, right? Just
That's not always a proud history, but it's, it's underrated, and the importance of being able to tell that portion of the story.
Right. Okay. All right. Those are not ones I thought you were going to say. What was it? The first one was Fort, was it Pulaski? Is that what you said?
Fort Necessity in
Necessity.
Pennsylvania.
Okay. Is that the one where, is that one where people are walking around with like metal detectors, like looking for old emblems and things
Some
from the
people
war?
are. They do.
Are they
Yes,
really?
they're in and around the edges because you're not supposed to take it off the national park. But yes,
Yeah, I know.
it's
But
a wide battlefield. But
right.
it was interesting. You can tell that General Washington, he was only like 22 years old, a 22-year-old general.
Right.
And he built the fort in the bottom of a marshland surrounded by hills. Probably practically not the best spot to be in.
Probably some some mold going on there in the wood,
Yeah,
and
hard
maybe
lessons learned. And so,
for sure.
yes.
I don't know that I would have been a good leader at 22 years old either, though. Now you mentioned that Congress is the one that kind of decides what, basically like how national parks are formed or like which ones get to be national parks. But one of the most recent ones, I think the most recent one, is the Indiana Dunes National Park. And we've had some conversations on our show, like how does, I know that, like, how does that go about earning national park status? There seems to be a lot of, in terms of like scenery and just places that are just epic, there seems to be some other options that might have earned status first. So how did that one kind of win out?
There has been a lot of effort went into making Indiana Dunes a national park. I mean, that goes back over a century. Indiana Dunes, just outside of Gary, Indiana, in the 1870s, started to become very popular with folks coming in from Detroit, Michigan. And they would take day trips over there to come and visit the waters and the shores. And by the 1890s, there were several clubs that would even take ferries that would take you from the shores of Detroit all the way down to Indiana Dunes. And by the early 1900s, even the very first director of the National Park Service, Stephen Mathers, had been advocating with Congress to make it a national park. And there were a number of reasons for it. It was a very well-known site for the Miami Indians, the natives that lived there along the shore for thousands of years. Their own people have been there for at least 10,000 years. And so it has a very rich cultural history from both anthropological and archaeological site. But then as Indiana grew, it had both an industrial background, cultural background, and it had over 1,100 different species of birds just alone. And so the folks of Indiana and along Lake Michigan fought long and hard to get Congress to pay attention to it, to eventually make it a national park. And so, it had a long 100-year plus journey to get there.
Right. So it sounds like it's more than just like a sliding scale of like niceness, where you're like, this is a lot nicer than this other place. It sounds like there's a lot more ingredients to go into that equation, so to speak.
Oh yes, you have to look at its natural resources, values, its cultural value, its heritage to the area, and then you got to make your play to your members of Congress, and then those members of Congress then have to negotiate with everybody else in the other 49 states and talk to them to see if they can get sponsorship and support so that it can get passed and be made into a national park. So it's not an easy process.
No, it's not. I just, like, my biased view, I go backpacking in the Wind River Range, and I just look at that and I think, if this, in terms of my sliding scale of nice, it's like, if this were a national park, this would be like top 3 in terms of just most epic scenery. And it's not, I mean, it's nothing. There's just like, random dirt roads to go out there, and they're not even in great condition. And so I just think, like, how is this not a national park? And how are we getting some of these kind of rando spots as national parks? I guess that was kind of where that question came from.
Yeah, it comes from people being able to champion what they believe is special to them.
A little bit of transition here with our topics. So on our show, we cover a range of topics here, and one of the more favorite ones is Bigfoot. So as the director, what was your official policy on Bigfoot?
I had no official policy. Nobody asked me to have one, which is interestingly enough.
I would have asked you.
There was no official policy, and I don't recall ever receiving anybody giving me a sighting in a national park while I was director.
Okay. And if you had secret meetings with like the FBI, you probably wouldn't be able to reveal that anyway. So then they wouldn't want you to have an official policy. Did you have a personal policy on Bigfoot?
My people here in the Pacific Northwest on the Columbia Plateau, I'm Walla Walla Cayuse, member of the Confederate Tribes Umatilla Indian Reservation. We have stories about Bigfoot here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a being that I don't know.
Okay. All right.
There are plenty of things in this world that I haven't seen. 7/10 of the world is covered by water, and I haven't been to the bottom of the ocean, so who knows?
there's definitely a lot in the ocean that hasn't been explored.
That's right.
Sure.
So there's plenty of the surface of the earth that hasn't all been explored either.
Okay. I was thinking, yeah, more like we have a symbiotic relationship, or we are focused on eradication, or we're focused on, or we don't know because it's an interdimensional being. I didn't know if any of those were any of the options you're thinking of.
I wish I knew. I don't know enough.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I tried. This might be an odd question for you, but it kind of ties into one of the stories we've had on our podcast. What does it take to get blacklisted from national park?
Ooh. It takes quite a bit. I mean, it belongs to you as an American, and rightfully so. It should belong to you, and so you enjoy your rights under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in a national park. You have the freedom of speech, the freedom to practice your religion, the freedom of assembly in a national park. A lot of people don't know that protests in national parks and on national park land happen all over the country. Literally thousands upon thousands of demonstrations happen in national parks.
Really?
Of course, the most famous one is on the National Mall. Most people don't know the National Mall belongs to the National Park Services. We are the stewards of the National Mall. And
in DC, you're talking about?
DC. And there are, thousands of permits every year that get filled for First Amendment rights. So, I mean, that being said, you really have to do bad things to get blackballed from a national park.
Okay.
And
I have
if you violate the law and you are caught, you will go before a judge magistrate, and the judge will make that determination about barring you from a park.
Gotcha. Well, real quick on the protests. So, I mean, there's obviously in Washington, D.C., there's going to be a lot of political protests. Has anybody led a protest like on some of the Western national parks about the requirement of bear canisters?
Bear canisters? Not that I can think of. I'm sure there must be. I mean, there's been protests about everything. That's what has amazed me. But that's the American way. You can talk. You can protest anything. You can be angry that there's parking lines if you want.
All right, I might have to organize something. We've had some national park. Well, I can just tell you specifically, Grand Teton and Rocky Mountain National Park. You must bring a bear canister into the backcountry, and then we bring it into the backcountry, and we get to our backcountry campsite, and there's a bear box installed. So we've carried this 2.5 to 3 pound canister for no reason into the backcountry, and that aggravates me, and I assume other people out there. But anyway, so the reason why I asked the question was because it actually has to do with the bear canister. So it sounds like what you're saying is like I'm not blacklisted because we had an encounter with a ranger in Yosemite National Park named Ranger Annie, backcountry ranger. Not sure if you met her, and she was a feisty one. She, we were on our last day of the trip and we're hiking out, and she asked to see our bear canisters and see our permit, and we showed her the permit, and she's like, were your bear canisters? And we had bear canisters with us, but we didn't have enough for to cover our entire group. So that was our mistake, and we could have gotten fined, and we would have paid the fine happily. But it was our last day. We hadn't had any bear encounters, and then she started getting really angry at us, and she started telling us that we were the ones that were killing bears. And so she kind of did like the finger pointing thing and everything. And I was like, okay, I just want to have a conversation about, like, we haven't even seen a bear. How are we killing bears? And so I tried to politely ask. I shouldn't have done it because I wasn't reading the situation well. And so she asked to see my permit again, and then like looked at something on the permit and then made a little note to herself. And so we've been kind of joking that ever since then we're blacklisted from Yosemite, but you're saying that's not the case.
No.
Okay.
Unless you talk to the judge magistrate, because there was one in Yosemite. If you haven't appeared before the judge magistrate, you're okay.
Okay. So she could have maybe submitted something, and then maybe the magistrate is like, yeah, we don't want to waste our time with that. Okay.
No, you would have received a citation. You would have saw a law enforcement ranger.
Oh, okay. I don't know if she was a law enforcement or not. Yeah.
No, it's a different badge. If it's not you would know.
Okay.
All
Gotcha.
LE Rangers carry a sidearm.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, all of the encounters we have with Rangers are very positive. That was just like a very unique situation. We love the Rangers and all they do for the national parks, but we just, that kind of stood out over the years as being kind of like a unique experience.
The Rangers do feel because every once in a while, because a bear has become habituated, campers leave out food. They feel bad when they do have to take a bear out who's just become habituated because of no fault of their own, really. This is their home and they're walking through their trails.
For sure.
Eventually, sometimes we do have to take a bear out. And I know that rangers feel bad when that has to happen because they see it as our interference, as human interference with their natural process. I know that when I took my family back in 2011 to Grand Tetons to camp and thought the same thing because having to put everything either back into our rig or into the bear box for a family of 5. Just, it gets time consuming when you're having to cook, 3 times a day and you're trying to feed family. But it came to real for us when a grizzly bear and her cubs were coming through at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, did that happen?
Yes, they woke, and my kids were smaller then, and they were sleeping in a side tent, and I had to wake them up and put them up in my tent. And I just remember my wife going, "There's just a piece of nylon between us, a mama bear, and her cubs. Is this really going to protect us?"
And your answer, of course, is yes. Yes, it is.
Yes. Everybody huddled together, and we put our trust in the Rangers. And eventually, the bear passed about an hour later, and they were nice enough to come by and tell us the bear's on its way. Don't worry, it's just making its way to the lake.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So it sounds like you abided by your own rules, and it worked out for you.
Yeah, and I didn't come up through the National Park Service. I was an outsider when I came in as the director of the National Park Service. So I understand. But I had those same concerns coming into it. Like, why am I having to load and unpack and pack each time? It seemed time consuming.
Right. Well, and I know that in the Yosemite, Sequoia area, Kings Canyon specifically, like they can be very aggressive, and some of the bears have figured out even ways to roll bear canisters off of cliffs and like break them so they can kind of get inside. So I get that. We've just done so much backpacking in that area that I don't know, maybe it's our own arrogance, but we know that the bears are going to tend to go to the populated zones where the backpackers are. So if we backpack and camp somewhere away from that, then very unlikely we're going to see bears. And that's the experience we've had over the years. So that's why we got a little aggressive. But anyway, maybe we'll culminate that with a protest down the road since now I know it's allowed. Okay. So you mentioned that you were an outsider coming into the National Park Service. So then I'm just kind of playing out a scenario here. So I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to be an outsider coming in because I haven't worked for the National Park Service either. But if I had the opportunity to be a National Park Director, I've come up with 3 things that would be part of my platform. So can I run them by you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm run by, and you can tell me like, yeah, that's not going to work, or give me the, like in my own naivety, like tell me kind of where I'm at with this. So first thing I'm going to come up with, this is kind of a softball one, is I'm coming at this from the perspective of the backpackers and people that are, wanting to go backpacking in the national parks. And so I've gone to a ton of parks. I have gotten permits in all the parks, and every park seems to do it differently. So you've got like one park has a lottery system. One park you have to get on right at the right time. Another park's like, well, as long as you get on within the month, then from there it's a lottery system. And then other parks, it's just like, I don't know, they just all do it differently. So my first platform item would be, I would make all backcountry permits have the same requirements and reservation dates across all of them. Is that realistic?
No. It's a great idea, though.
Okay. Why is it not realistic?
Because each park has different populations and the number of people that come in, and the way the systems are set up, it could actually end up being slower if you just mandated that we do everything A to Z the exact same way.
Okay, so
That's why
so for example, if I want to go backpacking, whatever in July in Yosemite, I've got to make a reservation 6 months out, and I got to go onto the website and do so. You're saying that idea wouldn't work in a different national park.
it might not be as effective at Acadia or at Yellowstone.
Okay.
It's based on the size of the park, the amount of trails that are operating in the park, the amount of staff that operate in the backcountry, so the staff to the amount of visitor ratio in the park. All of these, what I've been absolutely impressed with coming in, because again, like I was an outsider, when I was going through the briefing and talking to staff, is the social scientists that we had on staff that literally look at piles and piles of data that we collect and analyze to make these types of determination, and why we don't do it. Because I came from the military, where it is, when I spent my time in the military, where it is cookie cutter, that, the type of work that I did on an aircraft carrier is not going to change how I do it when I go to a destroyer, a much smaller ship.
Right.
And that type of approach, I thought, okay, because the National Park Service kind of prides itself that it has a military basis. Their uniforms came from the Army because of the turn of the last century. But then I realized that its decentralized system is really based on the social science behind it, and the data to allow each superintendent to kind of operate their park based on what they're seeing in real time.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of which national park is like the aircraft carrier versus the destroyer. That's like that analogy.
That's pretty easy. So aircraft carrier would be like a Yosemite, and Muir Woods would be like a destroyer.
Okay. You had that right away.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's my first one. All right. Second one. This one, I'm really excited to hear your perspective on. So I would get rid of Recreation.gov, having a monopoly with the national parks and a lot of the national forests too, with reservation system. I would, not that you have any power over the national forest, but at least the national park portion. And then I would invest in creating a website for all national park reservations. So that's going to be, basically everything Recreation.gov does with permits and camping spots and everything. So I don't even mind investing millions of dollars into this system, because I think Recreation.gov is up to $33 million a year and rising in terms of the profits that they're making just on their fees for what they charge people to use their website. So that's what I would do. What do you think about that one?
I would wish you luck.
What are the issues? Is there a contract, or what would be my issue with that?
I walked into, and the contract had already been signed under the previous administration, and it's a joint contract between the Department of Interior and the Department of Agriculture.
Okay,
that was negotiated between the two secretaries with an outside
so you guys have talked to two secretaries, two departments.
We get to talk to two secretaries, not just one.
Gotcha. And did you have meetings with those folks? You're like, what's going on with Recreation.gov?
I absolutely did.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yes. And trying to figure out how we can improve it and streamline it and have it be more responsive. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. I mean, it's pretty, the interface isn't bad. It's just more.
No, the interface isn't bad. It's just, it just has different kind of quirks, and it just could be improved upon. Absolutely can be improved upon. And I would say that they were trying to be as responsive as possible, but the system has to work for multiple public land agencies, and each of those agencies have different use and different wants from a system. And again, it's trying to make something trying to be the Swiss pocket knife for an entire public land system.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. So was the pushback basically, we've signed the contract, there's nowhere to go with this? Is that basically what they said?
There's limitations, yes, once you've signed the contract and you come into it, what you can ask for as far as upgrades and review.
Okay. Because I feel like the initial contract was 5 years, so they must, I don't know what the most recent contract was, but assuming that the contract was going to expire, if you had gone to those secretaries on an expiring contract and said, here's what I'd like to do, or at least try to get ahead of it so the website's ready to go once the contract is expired, would they have agreed to those terms, or what would be why would they not agree to the terms, I guess?
Oh, I don't know if they I'm sure they would agree to those terms. I think that that there's enough data from in the previous administration. Each of us land managers had come through and talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, and what we would like to see improved upon.
Okay.
And we've spoken to the contractor about it, and we would hope that those would be worked out in a new contract with, if it stayed with the same company or if it went with a new company, of the things that we wanted to see.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like there's an open door there as a possibility. Sounds like it's difficult, but there's possible. I'm gonna say possible on that one. All right.
There we go.
There he is.
Going on.
Oh,
How you doing?
good. How are you doing, Derek?
I'm good, my man. I'm good.
Is everything going? It looks like it's working now, so I think we're good.
I think we're good. All of a sudden, I think I lost power on my end because my work computer also just stopped.
Just shut down. Okay.
Perfect. Nice.
All right. I kind of went on a little bit of a rant there. I'm not sure how much of the rant you heard, so I can start over though.
Okay.
No, we can pass on that. Nobody cares about that.
They do care about that. All right, here we go. So we're on the third item of my third of three for the platform for being the National Parks Director. All right. So my last one is I would create mandatory pullout lanes for RVs, trailers, and any traffic causers. I would have your law enforcement rangers aggressively ticket the people that refuse to pull over for faster vehicles. They would also get a lecture about how it's okay to leave your house behind while traveling. What do you think about that?
Wow.
So the roads leading up to the park are usually under the domain and the responsibility of the state. So good luck with changing state law first.
Yeah. Boom. Mic drop. Right
Okay.
there.
And for those who can't figure this out, Derek just randomly joined us in the middle of the interview. Thanks for showing up, Derek. Appreciate it. Responsible as always.
Wow. Mocking a guy when he jumps in. I can log off. Let me just log off.
That'd be great. If you could do that, that'd be great.
Thanks.
Okay, so what you're saying is once I enter the national park boundaries, I'm inside. I've paid my fee. The roads inside the park, those are under the domain not of the national park.
Oh, once they're in, it's a mixed bag.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag. So, like there's a state highway that goes through Smoky Mountain National Park.
Oh, you're right. They are state highways. Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends.
So it depends. There's a
Okay.
state highway that goes through both, was it Grand Teton and Yellowstone too?
Okay. So you're saying, but you've got, you've got a lot of power as a national parks director. Wouldn't you have any pull with some of those local authorities and be like, hey, we want more cops. We want more people with their little radar guns out. But this time we're looking for the slowies that are referring to, refusing to pull over.
Slowies.
Yeah.
Slowies.
That's
Have you guys not had this problem? Is this not a problem where
oh, it is. I'm not saying it. I've been stuck behind them as the
Yeah.
National Park Service director in a park.
And and they're driving past the pullout lanes, not pulling out.
Police escort.
Okay. With
law
police
enforcement
escort, you're
With
okay.
my own
Wow.
escort. Yes.
Wait a second.
Really?
When you went camping in Tetons, did you have a police escort with your family?
No, that was before I was director.
Oh, beforehand. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
VIP treatment.
Yeah.
VIP
Nice.
camping treatment. Okay. And the police escort couldn't get
There was an incident.
the
we all laughed
person driving
about,
10 miles an
where-
hour. Yeah, to
yes,
pull over.
And they got lights and they're kind of boop, boop. And everybody's going,
Yeah. And
Wow.
that's
Clueless.
really
Just clueless.
funny. That's really funny. And you couldn't,
Wow.
all right, you couldn't
It's
do
a
anything
mixed
about
bag, Carl. It's a mixed bag.
bag.
that. Okay. So
But
let's,
no,
okay.
I
There's
feel-
got to, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because we do try to make sure that there are pullouts. As you've seen them, there's pullouts for folks that are, we have no problem. I welcome folks to come in their RVs if they wish to do so. But, if you're slowing traffic up, please be kind and pull out and allow those folks to go on their way so that they can get to their destination also.
Chuck,
Right.
Chuck, let's ask. Is it an ego thing you think for some of these people? Like, hey, I have my big camper. It's 40 foot long. I'm the man. I don't care if there's 8 people behind me. I am not stopping because I'm, the man. So I don't like. I was just driving through.
I'm the man with
somewhere.
the police escort behind me.
It doesn't, like, is it an
They're
ego
buzzing
thing?
me.
Are we just not? Are they just refusing?
I
Like,
don't
what is
know.
it?
So no longer director. Just a few weeks ago, I took my family. We went to Glacier, and as we pull off heading towards Glacier. Yeah, it was. My wife was getting mad because I was racing an RV. A guy who really wanted to go faster than me when we were going downhill, and then of course
Wow.
I'd get stuck behind him going uphill,
Of course.
and he didn't want to move out of the way, and he
course
would
not.
pass every pull off, and I'd be like, "What is going on here?" I think there's
Yeah.
some ego into that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Let's go back to the police escort here real quick. So so did you follow that RV and then reprimand
He eventually
them?
pulled over.
Okay.
He
Did
got
you give any
reprimanded.
verbal reprimands or anything? Okay,
No.
nothing.
Just headed
No,
on.
no
Kept on
finger
moving.
shakes.
No
No
finger shakes.
None of this
Okay.
going on. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, it sounds like of all the 3 platform ideas I had, it sounds like you were at least in most agreement with the last one. So there we go. Okay.
Well, I think I'm in agreement with the other ones that the complexity of the issues are all just there of trying to figure out, how do we tackle them?
Right.
So you're saying Carl should have done more homework on these proposals, is what you're saying. Noted. Mixed bag. Mixed bag.
Probably. Okay. Yeah. Well, and I guess the last thoughts about becoming national park director. So yeah, what would it take for me to be the next one?
A lot.
Ooh,
I got a podcast.
Like if an asteroid hit the Earth.
I was really surprised to become the National Park Service director. I spent over almost 30 years of my professional career almost literally throwing rocks at the Department of Interior.
Okay,
Really?
so did we throw rocks? Okay,
Including the National
step
Park
one.
Service, Department Bureau of Reclamation, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service,
Okay.
Bureau of Indian Affairs, fighting with them around natural resource issues, tribal treaty rights, and stuff. And so when I got the call, I laughed at the poor young woman who said, we'd like to know if you have any interest in being the 19th director. And I asked her who put her up to it.
That's awesome.
And she had to tell me that it was a real call because
a real offer.
Yeah. And I said, you know that I try to break your windows, right?
Yeah.
She says, well, they want to know if you want to come on the inside and see if you can make any changes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so because you're probably suggesting all these changes, like, well, hey, if you wanted to make these changes, like, you're now in charge of the changes, or you threw so many rocks, they're like, dude, we got to get this guy to stop throwing rocks. And what's the best way?
Get him inside and let him see how complex it is.
Right. It's not as easy as you think. Yeah, which is what I'm learning from this conversation.
Carl, you worked at REI for like a few years. You could probably get the job.
So I worked at REI, got this podcast, and
Huge,
I'm a teacher.
huge.
And then we got to throw more rocks. We got to start doing protests.
No, you can't. He doesn't throw that well, though. You don't throw that well.
Fair. That's
Well,
fair.
start with a bear canister protest. See where that takes you.
Bear canister protest that's kind of like entry level, and then we'll get more aggressive from there. So, all right. Well, along those lines, I mean, if you tried to affect change from the inside, was there something that you were like, okay, I really want to make such and such happen, but it just because of red tape or because of the complexities, it just wasn't possible? Was there anything that just couldn't happen?
I think one of the things that I wish we had had more time to deal with was mostly around careers. Folks want a more clear path on what it takes to become a superintendent and regional director in the National Park Service. There are stepping stones, but unless you have a mentor who's willing to teach you what those stepping stones are within the National Park Service, it is pretty hard. Now, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Bureau of Land Management are sister agencies. They have specific tracks that you can follow, like in a region, to build up in the system. Of course, they're smaller than the National Park Service as far as staffing wise. We were trying to tackle that issue while I was director so that people could see a better and clear path rather than this kind of old school, secret handshake method that seemed to be in place.
Right.
We were trying to daylight that. And we never cracked that fully open. But we did start trying to bring more daylight to what it would take for somebody to be mentored and trained so that they would have a shot at becoming a better shot and more open and fair shot at becoming superintendents and regional directors and maybe one day director of the National Park Service.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So national parks has been a big topic, obviously, in our show. And one of the fun things we've been doing over the years is national parks trivia. And I typically am asking national park trivia to Derek, and he's typically like
crushing it.
He got most of the questions wrong. He's gotten better in recent years. So I picked out a couple of our favorite questions over the years. Are you up for answering 3 national park trivia questions?
Ooh.
Yes.
Challenge accepted.
I'm not promising you I'll get the answers right.
Challenge accepted. You mentioned there's already a lot of national parks, but we'll see. We'll see about this.
Well,
So,
Chuck, don't be alarmed if you do get him wrong. He doesn't really formulate these questions that well. So
yes, I do.
it's not a big deal.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
And I'll say, so the 3 questions I have are, well, the first 2 specifically are not multiple choice, but if you want multiple choice, we can throw them in. So here we go. Number 1, what is the most visited national park each year?
Well, technically, it's a Smoky Mountain National Park.
That's
But-
correct.
But
Go ahead.
But
It's-
Carl.
the real most national park is the National Mall.
Okay.
Oh, well.
But we don't
again.
do head counts at the National Mall.
Hmm.
And nothing against Smoky Mountains, but they have a ticker, and there's a state highway that goes through it, and anybody that's driving along the state highway counts as a visit.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sounds like
stopping.
nigger stuff.
wow.
So-
So they
But
cheat.
what I'm also learning is that we need to retroactively make that answer wrong, Derek, when you said Smoky Mountain, sounds like, right?
Sounds like somebody's cheating on the highways. And,
You're cheating.
sounds like the
It's a
Smoky
good-
Mountain
it's a
people
good
want
way
somewhere
to
to
do it. I'm not saying I think this, think
Wow.
smarter, don't work harder.
I guess.
Or
Wow.
have some sort of, like when you go into the movie theater and you have to press that metal bar or whatever, like they got to have that for the National Mall.
Press
I
the
don't think-
metal bar. Where are you from?
Yeah, haven't you been to, like-
1985?
Yeah, correct.
All right, Chuck, here we go. Number 2. Which state is Big Bend National Park in?
Texas.
All right, Derek, you got that one wrong last time. He knew that boom, boom, boom like that.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
Well, we're going to see.
you know what, though? He might have Googled it when his quote-unquote computer went out. I don't know what's going on over there.
He
Very
might have.
sus. Very
He
sus.
might have.
Very
Okay.
sus.
All right. Last question. You've already passed trivia, by the way, because we only require 2 out of 3 correct. So you've already passed. But can you name one thing that's beautiful about Big Sur National Park?
Oh, there's so much that's beautiful about Big Sur National Park. The
Mhm.
rugged coastline, the
Rugged
iconic
coastline is
trees.
beautiful.
Chuck,
Go ahead,
think
Derek.
outside the box on this one, Chuck.
Go
Think
ahead.
outside the box. What does Carl like to do to people? Embarrass them, trap
I'm not
them,
embarrassed. I'm trying to embarrass Derek with this question.
pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah. Derek thinks that Big Sur is a national park.
No,
but
I
Big,
do not.
Big
No, I
Sur
do
is a
not.
California state park. So,
Park. Yep.
Yeah.
North of
But see,
Redwoods.
Yeah.
You see, Chuck didn't even answer that right away, so I don't feel bad anymore. And for the record, I didn't think it was a safe national park.
I think you just gave some more credibility to Derek with that answer. I think
Hey.
Derek feels more you have more
I-
self-esteem now, you think?
It's like when I put 2 completely separate like sentences together, he like somehow manipulates it into me not.
Oh,
knowing.
yeah, I'm just using AI.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just we'll rewind that episode
Yeah.
playback.
Okay.
Good job,
All right,
Chuck. Good
Big
job.
Sur is great because it's not National Park Service doesn't have to maintain it.
That's right. That's
Boom.
That's
right.
what's the most beautiful part about it.
Boom.
Have you it sounds like you've been there.
Oh, I've been to Big Sur, sure.
Okay.
I would,
Gotcha.
Oregonians, we like to go to Northern California, and then we like to come back to Oregon.
Yeah. and then you tell the Californians to go back to California, right?
That's right.
Californians, man.
Yeah.
Trouble. We're
I
all
don't think
trouble.
at least along the southern border of Oregon, I don't think they're big fans of Californians, from what I've heard.
Yeah, no. We used to have a state governor long ago, Governor McCall, that said thank you for visiting Californians. Please go home.
Wow. Harsh. Harsh.
Yeah.
That's not very hospitable, but whatever.
Okay. Last thing we got for you is how can we keep up with you and support you moving forward? Anything you got going on, or anything we can, any way we can follow you? Anything you want to share?
So my daytime work, I work for the Governor Kotek. I'm on the Northwest Power and Conservation Council, really looking at energy production in the Columbia River Basin and mitigating for fish and wildlife losses. But I'm fortunate to be also part-time as the Director of Indigenous Programs at Yale Center for Environmental Justice.
Oh, wow.
And I'll be working on a number of issues around co-stewardship and co-management with tribal nations. And I'm also sitting as scholar in residence at the University of Oregon Law School as a senior fellow working on tribal sovereignty issues. And so folks can follow me at those 2 institutions of learning about how to support tribal nations and getting back into their ancestral lands as part of the Land Back program. Because some of it is not just about land return. Some of it's just actually getting back that cultural connection and the land management protection back. Native people have been preserving these lands for 30,000 years. I think we can bring a lot of that knowledge forward so that we all can still live and be able to enjoy the natural world but maybe a little differently than what we've been able to enjoy for the past couple hundred years.
Okay. All
Fair.
right. Well, thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. And we'll have links in our show description. Again, I'd like to apologize for Derek's irresponsibility for showing up late. And seriously, though, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for joining the show.
Well, thank you both. It's great talking with you, Carl and Derek. Have a great one.
Thanks, buddy.
Takeaways. What you got?
My takeaway is Chuck recognized your ridicularity about the Big Sur question and intentionally delayed his answer, and I appreciated it. Thank you, Chuck.
That gave you redemption, if anything.
It gave me redemption that you manipulated and twisted my words. But I will say that he didn't really seem into any of your ideas for your platform.
Yes, he was. He was in. Well, yeah.
I think he's being nice.
He liked my ideas. I don't know if he thought they were plausible, though, right?
He admitted that people have egos, and that's why they don't pull over, which I've been wondering about for years. Now it's confirmed.
Yeah, is it narcissism or what is it? You think? Like, I'm all about myself. I don't care about who's behind me. I could give a rip.
I think there's a mixture, as he used the term mixed bag. I think it's a mixed bag of like ego, and I think there's some people that are just genuinely clueless. Like they're not looking behind themselves to see like how many cars are behind them.
No, people honestly, are honking. They're not clueless. People are like honking at them.
I hate it when there's that many people behind me. I hate it.
Right.
I'm like, please go by me. I don't want to have you right on me. So I don't know. Are you a puller over? You don't seem like a guy that would pull over.
Yeah, I pull over. But I think these are the same people that, like, let's say they're not driving an RV. They're driving whatever. They're driving a vehicle, and there's there's one lane, and they're going slow. Then there's a passing lane. And once the passing lane opens up, they get over to the right and they speed up so that either you can't pass or that it's very difficult to pass. That's the same person, I think.
Okay. That person is pretty ridiculous, I would say.
And those people exist. Yeah, they've existed forever. I don't know that there's a solution. I just wanted to penalize them as my goal.
You just want to give people fines and then, put the money back to the
national parks by fining them. And I told him, I said, and they got a lecture. So I feel like that would be, like a reprimand, basically.
If you were the National Parks Director, would you be giving yourself a police escort everywhere you went?
I don't know if he's a choice because he's pretty high up. Yeah, but
would you
like
enjoy
everywhere?
That?
Like you mean like going to the grocery store?
Yeah. Like what if they walked? Like if they went with you into the grocery store?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're wearing your backpack with the weights. Are you making them do the same thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to have it maybe more weight. If you're really going to protect me, you got to be able to.
These are probably big guys, like way bigger than you. So it wouldn't be hard.
Correct.
So you put in 5 pounds, they had to put in like 10 pounds.
I don't put in 5 pounds. I put in like 20 pounds, dude.
Divided by by 4.
Yeah, they got to go at least 40.
20 pounds of candy or 20 pounds of weight or 20 pounds of, what are we talking about?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see the other ideas. Okay. One thing I'll push back on was he doesn't seem like he mentioned he's coming in from the outside. He's not part of the national park system before he was a director. He sounds like he's a camper, but not necessarily a backpacker. So I don't know that he was really identifying what I was saying with how hard it is to get the permits to work and be the same. I'm not saying that like I think the permits should function the same park to park, but I think we should start with like, can we at least sign up the same way? Even if one park only issues 2 permits and one issues 1,000, the sign up process, why can't we make that the same? I don't get it.
I see your point of streamlining, making it simpler.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that you can make simpler. Will it ever happen though? Like how much red tape?
If I'm the director, it'll happen. I literally said that.
Give him the reins, guys. What are we waiting for? Give him the reins.
It's not really a voting.
Are you going to then like grade everything? Like you're going to grade your own department? And
oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to grade.
Just walk around the parks with a red pen or.
I'm going to fire rangers who poke their fingers in other people's chests, telling them they kill bears. Fire all those rangers for sure.
Poke their fingers into your chest.
And they're out. They're gone.
It's a little exaggerated, but very well. Well, good luck with that. Okay. I think you got a really good shot, actually, to not get it. So I think if we, keep those ideas rolling. What do you think about the last thing you said as far as him and the Land Back Act? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Land Back Act.
I looked that up. I'm not as familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So my response is I don't know, but here let me bring up something that you missed. I know.
Thanks. Sasquatch. You bring up Sasquatch?
He didn't have a good. Any interesting thoughts on Sasquatch?
I wish.
A little bit of a dodge, but we had, but I asked him, so here's a direct question I asked him is, what does it take to get blacklisted from a national park?
Oh,
and
good question.
Yeah, thank you. And so he said a lot basically, but you had to go before a magistrate. And I didn't know this, but I guess Yosemite actually has its own magistrate. And so I shared the story of Ranger Annie with him, and I think he officially redeemed me. I think
Did
I'm
he?
going to carry a recording of this podcast around in case we run into Ranger Annie.
I'm sure
again.
you will. I'm sure you will.
And I don't think I'm blacklisted because I didn't go before a magistrate. So I think I'm redeemed.
So I'm gonna go extreme here. Like, what if you like murder somebody in the park? Are you? I mean, I assume you're blacklisted.
It is
you're not
hard to
going
get
to
in the park if you're in jail, right?
You know what I mean? But like, what if I get out? What if I get paroled and I want to go back to the park? Do I have to go before the magistrate? Like, what? I assume like somebody like that's gonna be blacklisted, right?
Yeah,
You would think.
That's yeah. See, that's why you should have showed up. You
I wish I was there for that part. Darn it.
Maybe next time.
Let's get him back when he has better Wi-Fi.
To explain the Wi-Fi comments, he cut out a couple times, and we edited that part out. But he cut back. But he came back, which is nice. He didn't give up on the show.
He did. And he was back quick. He was good.
Yeah. Gave Derek a chance to think and kind of calm down about being late. It was great.
Thanks for that again. Way to beat that dead horse. It's good. Okay. I enjoyed him. It was nice to meet him.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else? Trying to think if there's any other takeaways. Okay, we'll stick with that. All right. So we asked trivia during the interview. So that was our trivia segment. We're just going to jump to tidbits, and I got a tidbit for you that you're going to like.
This is rare. Do tell.
Okay, a few episodes ago, we had this I think it was the episode on like the controversial ultralight items, and you were trying to propose that the backpacking chair, is an essential item, like essential. And my response was, the entire backpacking world disagrees with you. And yeah,
Go
and
on.
so then I cut that clip and then I released it on like Instagram and YouTube.
Go on.
And all the feedback that I got was like, no, Derek's right. Like, it is essential. You have to have a chair.
Thank you.
People were saying like everything from recovery to one person literally called it a survival piece of equipment.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I go that far.
Said.
But you know what? This is why I love the backpacking blisters people, because the family is that they're behind me, because they get that you are thinking of yourself right there. I'm like, there's so many people that have backaches, leg aches, injuries, overweight, like you name it. Like that. Well, no, because you get to the end of the trail and you're like, oh, my chair. And you sit in that chair.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost as good as a fire for some people. I'm going to say that. It's almost as good as a fire.
All right. The fact that I'm not going to even break down the word essential anymore, but we'll circle back to that later, because I got some evidence to suggest otherwise. We're not going to deal with that this episode. But I just want to talk about the logistics of the chair here. So we had an episode out where it was like the first 5 things you must do when you get to camp or pay the price, right? And your number one answer, I don't know if you remember this, your number one answer was that you wanted to stretch.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you want to loosen up those muscles. And so what you're saying is, like, after you're done stretching, what you then want to do is take this small chair, this rinky-dink little thing, and crunch yourself in it to tighten up those same stretched muscles. That's what you're saying.
Overreaction? No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what happens.
I'm going to stretch, loosen it up, and then I'm going to rest the muscles, Carl. I'm going to rest. Okay. I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to enjoy the view. I'm going to up and boost.
But at some point, you're crunching those muscles in the
morale.
chair. At some point.
I don't know about crunch. That's a little...
Hey,
and to be fair, some people who bring these chairs bring the big ones. Like Rocky brought the full on.
Yeah, no, those ones aren't as bad. Agreed. But we're not talking about those. The worst one by far is the REI chair. 100% the way it's designed. Like, it's almost like you're just kind of like going down and your butt's sinking into a hole, essentially.
But even if it's for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it feels
People
amazing.
don't sit there for 20 minutes. They're sitting there for hours.
I'm just saying, it feels amazing.
Okay. So I bring the Helix chair, not as bad as the REI chair. But and I like the chair. I enjoy having the chair. But admittedly, when I get out of the chair, I'm tighter than when I sat down.
Well, maybe if you stretch after you get when you get to the trailhead or the camp, you would be.
I've been doing that.
You've been stretching?
Yeah.
The hammies?
I just got back from a 10-day trip, dude. I had to stretch.
The hips and the hammies?
All that stuff, yeah.
Really?
Lower back. Yep.
I'm glad you survived it though.
But so what I did was because obviously the chair didn't come on that trip, I inflated my pad and then kind of just like leaned it against the tree And so that way I was more stretched out. I could both stretch and lounge at the same time, and I was not tight getting up. And it's not an extra item. I get it's a little bit of a risk. You don't want to pop your pad, but that's what I did.
Yeah, that's risky. I don't know. Yeah, you had to do your little inflatable chair thing for a while. That's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like what do they call them? Creek seats in some parts of the country where you just like fold it and sit there. And I mean,
Crazy Creek, yeah.
Crazy Creek, whatever. It's not to me. That's not as comfortable because you're on the ground.
No,
it's harder to get up.
And that's the complaint people would have is like getting up off the ground, which you're gonna do anyway because you're sleeping in a tent. Like, or I guess hammock campers could claim otherwise, but.
Listen, guys, you guys had the best feedback. I appreciate the support. If you know, and Carl clearly doesn't know, and that's okay. We're just here to teach him.
No.
We're trying to teach him. But
every once in a while you got to get a pat on the back there, Derek. And
you're a rigid soul, but I appreciate you admitting that the people were behind me. So
we're going to circle back to that comment though, because I have evidence to suggest otherwise, but I wanted Derek to at least take a victory lap for now and enjoy himself. So
the eternal greater is always on the watch, folks.
All right. That's all I got, my friend.
Oh, that's all I got. Guys, thanks again for hanging out with us. And bummed I missed the first half of that, but I'm glad I got the last of it. Thank you for the support online. We'll see you next time. Check us out on the social media handles of Backpacking Blizzards Podcast. And if you need a mixed bag, don't look in Carl's because he's got a lot of bad jokes in that bag. We'll see you next time.
I want to fly.